هلا بالخميس هلا بالخميس ويكند عيال هلا بالخميس هلا بالخميس هلا بالخميس ويكند عيال هلا بالخميس.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. هلا بالخميس. It's Laylatul Jum'ah. We're about to usher in the best day of the week, inshallah ta'ala. It's load shedding where we are. It's hot. Am I alone? Hot. Alhamdulillah. But like our topic of discussion this evening, that no matter what happens, clouds will come past, darkness will come into your life, load shedding will happen, but what needs to be done, inshallah ta'ala. So we decided this week, we're not going to cancel, we're going to make a way to bring the live into your home, inshallah ta'ala. This evening, mashallah, I'm joined on the couch by a lion cub.
Allah.
Diehard. And Islam Makkah Chief's twin brother.
Allah. Hey.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Mashaykh?
Can I just bring one point in, inshallah, one fa'idah?
Yeah.
If I'm thinking now, if it's load shedding in Mitchell's Plain, right?
Yeah.
And I came from there, and we have a 4-hour stint from 6 till 10.
We also have a 4-hour stint.
Yeah, and you come from?
Also, we
on the same grid.
Same zone.
Oh, same grid, yeah. So basically, that's all of our.
These people
are probably gonna watch the stuff, the episode after.
Most people watch on their phones, man. Most people watch on their phones.
Okay.
This afternoon I was in the bank and I was timing to get there before load shedding because the bank nearest to my home closes for load shedding. They don't have a generator. So I was telling the lady, between preparing for load shedding and cleaning bottles and stuff, right? That's like my whole day. I don't have any spare time anymore. And that's our life, load shedding.
Load shedding, yeah. Now everything works around load shedding now.
Yeah. But we are ummah like that. We make a way.
We make a way.
You iron in that specific time. You make food in that specific time because and you say, that's why we don't complain to the powers that be. We complain to each other. But we will never.
Sometimes to our detriment.
Exactly.
We don't say anything. We've just accepted it, yeah.
Like last night, I was giving a lecture in Mitchell's Plain out in New Woodlands Masjid.
Okay.
So the imams of Mitchell's Plain, they're doing a shuffle, right? So they rotate at different masajid. So we had like 20 imams being in not their own masajid. But anyway, the lights went off and nobody was fazed, man. Everything just went on.
That's normal.
But you sat in darkness.
The only one that voiced the opinion was my son at the back with his mother. It was over. But I mean, everybody else, it's load shedding.
Now, I teach history. And through the entire history, nothing happened without a revolution, or without people protesting, or without people starting a movement, or no movement.
Consciousness.
Yeah.
Black consciousness, or whatever else.
But civil rights movement. But there's nothing happening. But we're just going to speak about it. We're going to get us inverters.
We work around it.
Yes.
Muhammad, how do you deal with load shedding?
Well, load shedding, I think I just experienced this month. Because previously I stayed in Belva South and we don't have load shedding there.
Yeah, he told me. He told the last time when what's his name was Yahya Rabi.
Yes.
He told me they have no load shedding in Belva South because of all the factories.
We have like almost 4 or 5 factories.
Yes,
and then now I moved to Boston side.
Belva proper.
Now I need to check out every minute.
Subhanallah.
But first it greeted us for 2 hours. But now it's 4 hours. Now it's 6 hours.
Yeah,
it's found out that you part of the sufferers now, so they exceeded the suffering.
But now, have you heard on the what's the name? The budget speech, they allocated 200 and odd billion rand.
Okay.
Of funds towards ISCOM.
So who's going to steal that money?
That's the thing. I told someone this is probably just salaries.
So just good. With COVID, how much that fund that was stolen? How much was that?
SubhanAllah.
I can't even remember.
Billions. That was billions.
Yeah, that was also billions.
So but right, Lucy politics.
I was gonna say now they put together a task team, to anti-corruption task team. A week later, they disbanded.
Because the anti-corruption.
Because the anti-corruption task team
also
is more corrupt than the people that are investigating.
Astaghfirullah.
Welcome to South Africa.
Welcome to South Africa. Near-death experiences.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to go into the details of it, but I mean, I don't know. Did you ever?
Yeah, many times.
So I'm the only.
I'm from the ghetto.
Allah
So
protect me, right? So I'm the only guy on this couch that hasn't been robbed at gunpoint.
Sheikh,
And I grew up in Menenberg, right? My formative years.
But how
don't
long?
tell me I was sheltered. Don't tell me.
You lived in the. You told me you lived most of the time in the house.
Yeah,
You attend school whilst being in Menenberg.
in Weinberg. I never attended school there. Right?
No, but you lived a portion of your life whilst attending school in
Yeah,
Menenberg.
high school. My whole primary school, high
okay.
school.
But
So
outside, you left the area.
I went to Weinberg and then
So probably,
Islamia.
and you were probably dropped
not
at
the
school.
nice Islamia, the old school at Abibia.
And you were probably dropped at school.
it's still
I
Islam.
traveled
transport.
tramways, bus,
Sheikh.
6:45, myself and my little sister. Yeah, when kids, you know what was funny, Sheikh? Then I take the tramways bus, I get off, the at Cozy Corner, and I walk up to Mohammedia, so it's around the corner from Laksharama. I know where the Laksharama was. And I would pass a home where kids were getting into the car, the same school that I went to. They literally lived around the corner, and the mother would drive them to school. I'm thinking, I'm like, what's happening here? Because my father was in construction, whenever it rained, he would take us to school.
Because he's
he
not
didn't
working.
go
Yeah.
out.
And we thought that's the best time of the year, not knowing when there's no work, there's no
No
pay.
yeah, exactly,
It was
yeah.
always-
Yeah.
Because you get back home, you have a cup
conditioning
of
was different
soup,
for you,
you're under the blankets, you're watching TV, and you think winter is so good, but it's actually so bad for your father. You wish for winter, and they wish winter just gets
Over and done
We
with you.
stayed in Factoryton. We went to school. We schooled in Kensington. So we had to walk over the sports field, 14th Avenue. And Kensington's kids came with cars. and we like, yo, let car. Where we come from.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
But Mullah,
But it was good, alhamdulillah.
the bad experience that you experienced yesterday.
All I can say, wallahi, if we don't take the lesson from what happens to us, and then wallahi, then we're the losers. And the believer is such that when we have prosperity, then we make shukr. And when we go through adversity, and alhamdulillah. And in the hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affords us a home in Jannah,
Yes,
either
sir.
Baytul Shukr or Baytul Hamd.
Yes, I know.
So it happened. It had to happen.
Yeah.
In order for some realization, sometimes we need a pullback. And I liken Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala system to the system of the parent. Ek klong halop en ek kap sy toon en my sê, "As jy en so nie toon." Sheikh Muhammad, you understand? You're not going to respond, but you can.
Yes,
You
yes.
understand?
I understand perfect.
If he doesn't understand, he's just gonna roar like a lion does.
And second time he does it, you must watch where you're going. You can't push now. Third time, the mother hits. Sy kan mos sê dieselfde ding oor en oor.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, ulil absar.
So the same with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the same with us, man. First time, hey, almost. Second time, so you didn't take note, man. Red flags is there, but you're so wrapped up and so wanting to make this work and without the need to. Without the need to. And Allah is...
And I think, Sheikh, okay, you're speaking now about normal lessons, and without a sin. Now, the same thing with sin, man. You sin, you disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes.
Nothing happens to me. You go further. Nothing happens to me. But we forget, Inna Allah la yumli li dhalim hatta idha akhadahu lam yuflit. Allah gives you that
Despite, yeah.
that respite. Okay, take. And then when he comes for you,
Allah takes.
Allah takes.
He takes you.
He takes you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's kind of our topic tonight, because we somehow forget. Right? And we go through slumps. We go through dark patches. Yeah. So the hadith tonight, Sheikh Ashik, you're going to read it for us?
MashaAllah, it's a beautiful
You
hadith.
must the Qari.
MashaAllah.
قال المصنف
When I went through this book, right, it's the fawaid is like amazing.
It's amazing.
It's
Have you
amazing.
read Jamaluddin Zaraboza's book on Tazkiyah?
No.
He's got a beautiful book
What's
on
it-
Tazkiyah,
What's the name?
Purification of the Soul.
Okay.
But as we know, the Sheikh is very academic. So he has even made, I mean,
He's made that book academic
there's
as well.
no better explanation in English, maybe even in Arabic, than his explanation of the Arba'un.
Yeah, it's very detailed. Yeah.
Now,
Very
this
detailed.
Tazkiyah thing that he wrote is as detailed. Very academic, but not like
It takes
Dr. Ali Barghouthi.
The tangents takes you away from spirituality.
It takes you away from
Because he will bring everybody's opinion on one matter there, and
But this is like you mentioned, this is like a journal, man.
Yeah.
And in the intro to the book, he says how to study the book.
Yes.
Then he says, take a hadith, read through it, read through the commentary, internalize.
And you get that project at the end.
Exactly, he does a project. Yeah, it's an amazing book. What's the name? The book of the name of the book is
Heart Therapy.
Heart Therapy.
40 ahadith on
Heart Therapy.
Yeah, that's an amazing book. So I would suggest
And
you
purification
can
of the
download
soul.
it from the internet.
I haven't read the love one. I'm excited to read the love
Inshallah.
one. Yeah, inshallah. But Sheikh, go
Khair,
for-
inshallah.
go
So
for
this
it.
hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and we can, discuss and break down and commentate on the hadith, inshallah. The Prophet said, "Ma min al-qulub qalbun illa wa lahu sahabatun ka sahabati al-qamar." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there is no heart except that it has a cloud, like the clouds of the moon. And then the Prophet said, "Al-qamru mudi'un," while the moon is shining. The Prophet said, whilst the moon is shining, إِذَا عَلَتْ عَلَيْهِ سَحَابَةٌ, when it gets covered with a cloud, فَأَظْلَمْ, it goes dark. إِذْ تَجَلَّتْ عَنْهُ فَأَضَاءَ, but suddenly after that, when the cloud leaves, the moon gains its shine back.
Allahu Akbar.
And subhanallah, when I read the sharh of this hadith, right, in each jumla, he breaks it down sentence by sentence. So he says, number one, the heart is vulnerable. And
that goes without the doubt. Even the name changing all the time.
The heart is always changing.
And the name is given according to the characteristic of it. And the content of the container is the same.
Exactly.
Like your heart is volatile, and like your heart is ever changing. The contents of it, like your iman, like your taqwa, like it's also ever changing.
It's always
it always work. Always needs work.
So you can't leave it on autopilot.
No, you can't.
Thing.
That's why it's named after qalb.
No.
And that volatility, it's always external factors that interferes, that we internalize, and then it corrupts. But it's mostly external factors.
Yeah, because it's like a sponge, man. You're pulling in. And it's flipping, and you don't really have full control over it.
Yes.
Right? Because that's apparent when you feel love, which emanates from the heart. You want to be just, whether it is with your wife,
with your kids.
The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was just with all his wife.
But his heart
was Aisha's. Right? Before that, it was Khadija's. And Aisha knew, it's still Khadija. And then in Aisha's life, the rest of the wives know it's Aisha. So you don't have the power.
Yeah.
You don't have full
Control
power.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
So you need to take care of it. Because if you leave it, it just sucks up everything else.
In the same book, in the second hadith, I think, where Rasulullah makes a parable of the heart being like a feather in an empty open space, and the wind is blowing. And we know that the feather is not going to resist.
Yeah,
it's going to
goes
go like
wherever
that.
the wind goes.
So the heart goes like that, based on the emotions, based on
based on what you expose it to.
Yeah, exactly. So the Prophet ﷺ said, just to read over the hadith, there is no heart except that it has a cloud like the clouds of the moon.
Now amazingly, it says no heart, meaning it's like open. Is it
Everyone.
believing heart? It's
everyone.
So everybody goes through that phase.
That phase, exactly.
Yeah, but there's a difference between a believing heart and a heart
and the cloud. There's a difference between the cloud also.
Yeah. So the believing heart we would refer to iman.
Yeah.
The heart of mankind,
Fitra. Natural inclination.
That little good that is still in there. Because every person is born upon fitra.
But is fitra then enough on its own, man, without nurturing it into iman?
It's not enough. It's not enough.
If
you need to work. You need to work. And that's why the Anbiya came and the Rusul came. The books were revealed. Because the fitrah recognizes a higher being, a creator, a sustainer, a bringer of rain, a cherisher, nourisher. But that fitrah doesn't necessarily know, how to worship that being. And so the prophets came, the books were revealed to single out Allah with worship, with love.
And that's from the rahmah of Allah.
Exactly.
He wants us to do certain things.
And He gives us the resources.
And He gives us the Because Sheikh, I think fitra is not enough, because clearly you can see fitra is almost going extinct in
and fitra is open to change as well. So fitra gets corrupted.
Yes,
if there's no work done on it.
So now, with I always come back to the LGBTQ movement.
I was going to
I'm
say
like the biggest. I'm like the biggest homophobe that there is, man.
Yo, wat groot kanse.
But the thing is, I mean, the voice of fitra is like almost like it's being silenced, man. It's like being suppressed. And the voice of anti-fitra, this is, what's being amplified and being shared. You understand?
You know why? It's because we live in a cosmetic world, in a very external. We move on likes and acknowledgements.
Like, exactly. I shared a video with Moulana Ashik of Matt Walsh that made that documentary, What is a Woman? And there's a lady, right, mentioning there that her son, what actually says his daughter, 2-year-old, likes to wear jewelry and dresses, and now they believe that this 2-year-old wants to be a girl, right? And they're gonna transition this child. So Matt Walsh said, go back to the TikTok account. They're doing this evil deed of like changing the son's gender for likes and acknowledgement. So you can also say, no,
to fit in with the status quo.
He's on hormone blockers and he's transitioning, and I mean, come on, you're butchering your own child so that people can watch your
call you like
you woke.
Woke, there's it, woke.
Yes.
So the Prophet said, there's no heart except that it, over it is a cloud like the clouds of the moon. While the moon is shining, it gets covered with a cloud and it gets dark. But when the cloud leaves, the moon goes back to its shine. And so from that we learn, the scholars say, what is the shine of the heart? It is iman, it is faith.
Exactly.
Belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that shine can sometimes be covered by what?
Cloud.
By clouds. And that clouds takes the form of disobedience, sin, depression. I read something interesting about Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah this afternoon. Someone stated this. He said the 4 things that harms man. And I thought to myself, he says, number 1, being in a state of anxiety because of the future.
You're always worrying about the bills.
Yeah, like the future.
Planning is important, but worrying to the extent where it consumes you.
Ya Allah. Number 2, having sorrow over the past. Number 3, he says remaining hungry, because obviously it adversely affects the body if you stay away from food. And number 4, he says sleeping late. Sleeping late,
I don't have that luxury anymore.
I have that bad
and
quality.
You also won't have that luxury soon.
Yeah, subhanAllah. So he says, and subhanAllah, when, what is the darkness that really covers the heart? It's the darkness of sin, of sorrow, of thinking about the past. I could have done this. I could have not go yesterday and that would not have happened to me. It puts you in a state of ingratitude, man. You start questioning why and stuff like that. And it makes you frustrated, and the darkness of depression, the darkness of worrying about the future. Worrying about the future is not necessarily something bad, but being in a state of anxiety which overcomes and overtakes your life, man. These are all the dark clouds. And then he goes on by mentioning something interesting. He says, and that dark cloud in its density and in its size differs from person to person. My cloud, my dark spot, dark cloud can be bigger than that of his.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? So my amount of disobedience that covers my heart can be greater than his. So I found that, subhanAllah, that parable, this is a beautiful hadith for that parable.
I think it's also about culture, man, or norms, right? As a big role to play, on how we worry about the future.
Yeah, it's people around us. Yeah.
I mean, my boy is 3 months old, but people is asking me, where am I going to send the kid to school?
Yeah,
I mean, it's nog lang, man. And why must I have that pressure?
Exactly.
Now? Then I look at the Somali community. These guys are just laid back.
Chilled. It's like the Saudi community.
Organized.
Yeah.
Laid back,
but organized.
Organized, yeah.
So is that Muhammad? You are now going to present. You are now going to represent the entire Somali. Is my observation correct? Or
the thing is, I do agree with Sheikh, because why? Most of the times, like a lot of people when they come to Africa, they're like wondering, like, why is people worried about things that we don't even have, or we haven't reached yet?
Yes.
They're concerned of, if I die, what's my kids gonna have? They say they forgot that, in Allah yarzuq man yasha bighayri
Naam.
hisab. You know, they've forgotten that. And I really, it's like also kind of, I'm being affected now. Because now, growing up in a society like this, now he's like wondering, like, okay, by the end of the month, I need to do this and this. Now it's like, next year, I need to do this and this. It just slowly by slowly affects you.
So your company that you're keeping and your environment that you're in.
Exactly. Which means I do agree with Sheikh. And somehow also I disagree because of, it comes to a time where now, if you're gonna start planning everything ahead, it's gonna come to a time where you just see, like, I remember Mafwan. There was this time where we met this guy. He said no. It was 2019. He had a conference that he booked in 2024.
Ya Rab.
Till now we haven't reached there yet.
Ya Rab.
I asked myself, like,
طول
Are you
الأمل.
gonna
guarantee
live
you?
there? Are you gonna
What
live
guarantee
there?
you have? And it's a Muslim brother. You know, sometimes it's good you to plan, but also keep in mind that the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also on a plan. You know,
Having been married for almost 18 years and most of it without children, I used to plan everything. You can ask my wife. If something was to happen tomorrow, you must tell me today, and I must process and I must plan. And just as often, like I would have a certain what do you call it? Rituals, man. Not rituals, what do you call it? A certain
Mantras, certain things that you do.
Things that I do, right?
Yeah,
especially on a Thursday
You have a
podcast
will.
day. I'd go to the barber, whatever else. Now I'm just winging it, man. And if it was like last year this time, I would be worried. How do you just wing through a day? Like I would say, I would know what my breakfast would be. I would know where I'd go the next day. I would know what I would wear the next day, and that was me. Right now, I'm just like winging it, and then I'm thinking, in between, like Muhammad said, there has to be this middle way, man. You can't plan to the T, and then when it doesn't go that way, you're like, your whole world, crashes. And also, you can't just wing everything because, I mean, and this is an example I use all the time. How many half-built masajid are there and madrasas are there, or like foundations just laying because there was no effective planning. Money came in, we spent it, but it wasn't like, okay, let's accumulate more and do something better. We reacted to it. We don't like
but if there isn't any planning, then there's going to be lack in your execution of it as well. Now Shaykh Muhammad said something now. He says when the Somalis came here, they said they're thinking, why are you worried about stuff that we don't even have? But they are so focused and we're so worried that they accrue or they acquire the things that we're worried about before us.
Exactly.
One of the seniors,
Before us.
one of the seniors who came, from amongst the first Somalian brothers who came.
الرئيل الأول.
Yeah.
The first group.
So he's telling me he came and then he took a loan from somebody, 100 rand or something, bought a few nail clippers, man. Right? Wallo to 2 and he was selling it on the road. And then by the second day or the third day, he paid back the 100 rand. Man. So he got that out of his way. As for us, we would think, okay, that man gave me till 3 months' time.
I can pay that.
He said I can pay it over 3 months. Right? So we're going to use that whole 3 months and then pay the 100 rand. Whereas he thought, look here, what else do I need? Get out of the way.
And then I carry on.
Yeah.
And everything here, this is not mine.
Tomorrow is tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah, this is mine. That is not mine. Tomorrow is tomorrow. But Sheikh, you speak about the moon, right? And the Sheikh mentions that light of Iman also, it doesn't stay with you alone. It also like flows out. It shines out.
Exactly.
It affects others. Nowadays with social media, that light can be
dumbed.
It can be dumbed or it can be enhanced. Because sometimes social media makes you bigger than what you really are. So they say, no, this is a big Sheikh. Where is he from? Instagram. Right? But I remember a time before social media, man. And the likes of Sheikh Abi Ishaq al-Huwaini and Sheikh Muhammad Hassan would easily pull 150,000 people for Jummah. Like you'd have to sit in a masjid before Fajr to get a place in the masjid for Jummah. It's before social media. And now we go back centuries. Our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, even he gathers 100,000 people on the day of Arafah without a WhatsApp message going out. So who are we, man? And what is 100,000 likes in the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam without any of those, wasa'il, without any of those telecommunicative tools
Mm.
got together 100,000 people. That nur
Naam.
goes out. A pure nur, man.
Yeah.
A clean nur. Right?
A pure nur.
A pure-
Emphasis on pure.
A pure nur. Like Shaykh Ishaq would always mention, when he came to practicing Islam, there was nobody in his whole village, man.
Mm.
In fact, there was nobody in his whole village who grew a beard, man. Right? It was something strange. And then this nur, or this light of consciousness grew. Then he said, but we knew everybody in our ranks, man. We knew who's who in the zoo. Today, he speaks to the students, he say, you are thousands. But you don't know who you have in your ranks. Who's weak, who's strong, who's going to stand by you, who's going to, falat you. Sorry, Muhammad, who's going to, desert you. Who can you depend on in your times of
need.
difficulty? So that nur, it's strong and it's pure. And then sometimes then that cloud comes. And this can be also a movement also, Sheikh. I'm not going to re-look the hadith, but I mean, we speak about one heart, but it could also be a group of hearts.
People.
Right? So we start off strong. We're going to call to Quran and Sunnah. We're going to do this and that and that. And then this cloud comes along. And then how do we deal with the cloud? Is the cloud in the end?
Yeah.
And it's like the soccer match is blown off because it's not even raining. The cloud is just coming out. So how do we deal with the clouds?
And so he goes further and he says that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, as you've mentioned, that this heart, it has a shine to it. And he says the benefit of the shine is that it affects everything around you. So obviously, if the person's heart is in the right place, piety will flow from that person. A person with a qalbun salim, a sound heart, a qalb that is salih, the person will meet others with a smile. The person's character will be beautiful. Why? It all emanates from a pious heart, a heart that is shining. And he also goes further and he says, the fact that the Prophet said this dark cloud comes over, this sin and disobedience of Allah Azza wa Jal comes over the heart, and then the Prophet said it goes away, and then the light of the moon returns, the shine of the moon returns. He says this is a dalil to indicate what? That this stage is temporary.
So the light is constant,
but this dark phase, the dark spot, you're weak, your moment of lapse, the moment where you feel, I don't listen to read Quran. That's a temporary, what's the name?
Your default setting, your factory setting is upon fitrah. Your factory setting is that.
So we have moments of enthusiasm.
Exactly. And the beautiful hadith, the Prophet ﷺ speaking about enthusiasm, and that's it. Like I can remember when I started practicing, right? Alhamdulillah, Allah afforded me at a very young age to start practicing. I was active in the Jamaat Tabligh, right? There were times when I would be so worked up, the Hamas, worked up in the house. I would
what do they call it? Jazbat?
The Jazbat, I would be heavy. I would condemn everyone in the house. Masjid Salamat. Then there are times you must pray in the masjid, and then there are times you feel like weak. Like don't.
I'm also a 15-year-old.
Yeah, man. You start. Is this? So the Prophet said something amazing. He said, لِكُلِّ عَمَلٍ شِرَّةٍ. Every action has a moment of enthusiasm. When you start, Talabul Ilm is a classical example. When people start seeking knowledge, people start learning Arabic. Everyone's
to memorize everything.
Everything.
Muhammad, he asked me what's our discussion, and I sent him the book, and then he mentioned this hadith. How does this hadith impact you, Muhammad? I think you're the youngest on the couch. How old are you?
Yeah, I think it's
I don't know.
Imam Malik rahimahullah said this is not part of muru'ah to ask him his age.
I think I should guys answer my question. This year 28.
Inshallah. You are the youngest on the couch.
Yeah. The thing was,
older than you.
I came across
34.
But mashallah, you can't see the sheikhs, the age yet, mashallah. I was thinking me and sheikh almost the same age.
Wallahi, Sheikh, your father, you can't see
yes.
You can't see his age also.
And so when they stand together, people say, like, who's older, two of yous?
Some people carry the age well, yeah. Alhamdulillah, mashallah.
No, just Sheikh mentioning now about the clouds, just clicked me the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ when they said, when Khadija gave the men to follow the Prophet ﷺ, the tijara. One of the things I cited with the Prophet was the clouds. He was walking, there would be a cloud. It shows you the signs of clouds is also one of the good things. I came across one day, a sheikh was saying, he was describing about Jannah and all that, And then he say, when a person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses him with the beauty, or he tastes the iman, the beauty of the iman.
حلاوة الإيمان.
Halawat al-iman, mashallah. Yes. He say you will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will blind him from this dunya. He will be more focused, to the akhirah. And then it just, while it comes to mind, Shaykh Ashir mentioned now, he said, when I was young, I was so, into Hamas, it shows you. And now the more older you get, now it comes to that time, like, I think I just need to stick to my salahs, it's like almost shaitan is trying to whisper, and but as the Shaykh says, لكل عمل شرة. It just gives you that already, but sometimes English just
doesn't capture the hadith.
It doesn't give you the proper meaning. So you feel like just saying in your language, and then someone just translates for you. I sent Shaykh Yusuf, I said, Shaykh, I'll give you the Arabic, you translate it for me. It came across.
The translator is between the two of them. No. Shaykh Ebrahim.
Because a couple of videos I saw, Shaykh, they throw in Shaykh the Arabic and he's just giving it out there. MashaAllah. Also, the thing, Afwan, that it inspired me when it comes to this topic of, heart to heart. Especially the book, I didn't go into the details of the book. When I saw the top just said 40 hadith, I thought it's Riyadh, what do you call I thought so. Now I go deeper, the more I see, I said, no, I don't see these hadith in what do you call most of them. I was like, okay, mashallah.
But I found
sorry to interject. Go ahead.
For me, a 40 on a specific topic is so amazing to teach, man. It's so easy to teach.
Because
a few years back, I had to teach a marriage course for IOU, and I chose 40 hadith from Bukhari and others, and it was so much easier. Obviously, you bring in modern modern input on, but to have that as a skeleton, as a base, you can't beat the classics. Sheikh, sorry.
And then the Prophet ﷺ continues the hadith and says, فَمَنْ كَانَ فِطْرَتُهُ إِلَى سُنَّتِي. If this fitrah is basic, and as the Shaykh mentioned, the beginning of this mankind, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring him to this dunya, he had a fitrah of Islam, as a Muslim. If the person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the Prophet said, it's either going to be two ways. Either you will follow what these parents is, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide him. Then gives you that guidance, and then the Prophet continues the hadith and says, فَقَدْ أَفْلَحَ. He gets success. He gets the way he wants. But then it comes to the time, and then the Prophet continues, he says, what about the person who comes with other than that? And also obviously فَقَدْ هَلَكَ. You won't go
dealing with the fatra, with that time period of the slump, is very important. The Prophet ﷺ is even saying that even if you go through that slump, still stick to the
sunnah.
Exactly.
Because when your iman is low, you tend to be I always tell you guys, when your iman is low, you tend to be destructive. So if you're there and you're feeling like, why me? Why is everything happening to me? Still stick to the sunnah. Don't go beyond the sunnah. And if you stick to the sunnah, like Muhammad said, then you are successful.
We need to ask ourselves, who brought the cloud? Who brought the cloud and who removes the cloud?
Allah.
So Sheikh Mansour gives that as يا شاقيا ما الحياة
منصور السالمي
أبشر فربك قد أبان المنهج من يتق الرحمن جل جلاله يجعل له من كل ضيق مخرجا. You stressed. We all have conditions. You're complaining about your condition. Glad tidings to you. Your Allah has already made a way out for you. Do what you're doing. And Allah subhanahu will remove that cloud. But it's also, it's got a lot to do, and for our youngsters, it's got a lot to do with the company that you keep. And this is negative and positive vibes. You'll hear people say, I don't list for negativity today. Sometimes people bring that cloud. And people put you in a certain condition because of what they're offloading on you, man. It's not even your own battles, but because this ummah is one. So if you have an issue and you bring that issue to me, and
it rubs off on you,
I feel it with you, but it's heavy for me. And and you feeling bitter
Yeah.
because you offloaded.
Mm.
But that's the beauty of our greeting, man. Like the hikmah behind
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, because you bring that heavy baggage to me, and then I tell you, look, I'm not telling you good morning because you're having a crappy morning. Your father just died, you lost your job, whatever.
Yeah.
Now I tell you Assalamu alaikum. Basically, you know, you have all that, but from me, you're gonna have peace. You're gonna have salam. I'm not gonna add to your.
I'm not gonna add to your
masjid,
woes.
you know. So it's dealing with that dark patches. But I just want to add something. So the Prophet says, then stick to the Sunnah. So what if you don't know what the Sunnah is?
That's why you need to learn. That's why you need to get educated on the Sunnah. Know what the Sunnah is. So this is an amazing hadith, right? I'm just going to do the translation, inshallah. The Prophet said, go for it, inshallah.
No. Go.
The Prophet said, and this is in context of what we're discussing. We said the heart is in continuous flux. It's continuously turning. Sometimes we have moments of extreme spirituality where we feel close to Allah Azza wa Jal. We want to worship Allah more. And sometimes we go through that dark patch, that slump, that moment of weakness, that moment of lapse. And so the Prophet in that context said that لِكُلِّ عَمَلْ شِرَّةٍ. Every action has a time where you're enthusiastic about it. Yes, varam khalu. وَلِكُلِّ شِرَّةٍ فَتْرَةٍ. But after every period of enthusiasm, there's a moment of fatra, a moment of slump. And then the Prophet said, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ فَتْرَتُهُ إِلَى السُنَّةِ. Whoever's fatra, that slumpy time, is in, and he still remains upon the sunnah and practice of the sunnah, فَقَدْ أَفْلَحْ, then he is successful. وَمَنْ كَانَتْ إِلَى غَيْرِ ذَلِكَ. Whoever, is upon other than that, فَقَدْ هَلَكَ. Then he will be
So Sheikh, I'm in a slump,
unsuccessful.
right? And I'm all stressed. So how do I remove the stress? I go towards yoga. Or
Subhanallah.
I light a cigarette. Or I listen to music. Or
things that will exacerbate the problem, that will make it worse.
yeah. Well, sometimes I think something that's not haram, something which is
Mubah.
totally mubah, but you think that your day is going to be better because of that, man. Coffee, for example. If I'm like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and I can't get anything done in my head, then I think back why I'm feeling like that. Then I realize I never had caffeine. So now I'm like basically running off caffeine, and in my brain I can't be effective and I can't be productive without caffeine. Caffeine is something which is halal, but now I'm like putting all my eggs in one basket because I am not productive without, and I've programmed myself like that. It's not haram, right? But you're now depending on that. Whereas the Prophet ﷺ, like Ibn al-Qayyim says that Ibn Taymiyyah's breakfast was his adhkar in the morning. And when you're doing it properly and when you're thinking about it really, and I mean, most of the listeners probably, Arabic is not, they don't speak Arabic, and many of them are probably regular in the morning adhkar. Taking that morning adhkar to the next level would be understanding what you're saying, because it's so much deeper, man.
No.
If you look at the adhkar, it's not just random.
Yeah.
It blows my mind when you listen to the morning adhkar and you ponder over the evening adhkar. It's the Prophet was guided towards saying that and teaching that to us. It's like your morning coffee.
Similar to is like the person that gets used to, as his routine, a daily basis, like, reciting the Quran, maybe having a portion of adhkar, the tasbih. I remember once a sheikh said, we're traveling from Johannesburg right through. He's the driver of the van. Like, that's his normal daily work. He would come to Cape Town, pick up people, Johannesburg, bring them back. Then he told us once, he said, he came to a pass, he would chat, and then these people, obvious, as Sheikh has mentioned, surrounding. People came and they started talking about politics, and the Sheikh just, took that and started talking with him. He said, halfway, tire broke, busted. They fixed it. They continued. He forgot that he had to fill up. He passed at the petrol station, petrol cut. Then he pondered, as the Sheikh said, now you all question what's going on. What am I missing out? Then he said, I realized that I haven't make sabah, my wird. And then he said, I forgot to recite my 3 pages of surah in a day. And then there's certain people like that. There's people you find that, as Sheikh mentioned now, coffee, So I'm not kicking, man, my coffee. But this is normal. Imagine the person says, look, that got used to ma'asi, to cool himself off.
Yeah.
I never listened to music, as Sheikh mentioned, picking up a cigarette, lighting, and just to cool off his brain. And then Iblis tells him, now you're calm. Alhamdulillah, now you're calm. Continue. Sheikh, bismillah, afwan.
No. Go on. I'm thinking now about the examples that you're giving, right? And when you like cool off and you try to remove your woes through more disobedience, people like that, it's just a hayat and donka, man. It's like a miserable life. And it's,
Shaykh Ebrahim is speaking about happiness now, or leaving the negative vibes. The cloud, when it comes over, sometimes I've seen people in life now, in the school of life, where the cloud actually brought them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I remember many, you don't hear now of teenage pregnancy and all that, but growing up, I had friends, they were 16, Muhammad or Ali gets married, and then you see him in the masjid, and then he becomes a father, and the boy comes to the masjid. So I'm not saying, sin was good for him, but when the cloud came, it hit him.
He realized.
It hit him. He was in a situation. The cloud moved on, and he made the best out of a bad situation. When we live in that cloud, man, and we think that the cloud outshines the light.
The cloud is the default setting.
The cloud is the default setting.
Now that is the issue that we have in a society like that. When we want to bring change in our lives, the very first thing that we do is externally. I'm sick of this look. I need to cut my hair a certain way, and I need to change my clothes. This is 90s, and I need to feel good about myself. The problem is internal, but you're changing externally, and you still feel like that.
It's like you have cancer and you're putting on a plaster.
Exactly.
I say. So you must go to the root of the thing. We change that. Then, because your eyes is the mirror to wear. To hear. Your ears is also linked here. So if you...
It's like we mentioned last week, Sheikh, the false sense of piety, man. What piety is. Does piety have a look? Does piety have a color? And then somehow in the discussion we mentioned how some people's, basic hygiene, man, goes out of the window when becoming pious. Because he hears Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu had a patch. So you don't work towards it, man. You don't yearn for a thobe that's patched. Yeah. I mean, that's what came past, and that was a difficulty that you went through. That's not an indication of piety. The thobe is not an indication of piety.
Definitely not.
The beard, I mean, the question that you hear often, and you hear the Mashaykh answering it so nicely. Person with a beard or without a beard, who's better? Lady with hijab or with niqab and without niqab, who's better? You can't answer that question. And it's not even... Is it a question even?
Why are you asking?
I mean, it's like you are now criticizing the beard. You can either be good with a beard or bad with a beard, and you can not have a beard and still be a good person. Also,
do with it.
It's not the deciding factor. It's an important factor. It's part of the lifestyle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Something he ordered us with, but is it an indication of what's inside
the heart?
No. But is it an indication that somehow he's following a sunnah? Yes, but is he following the sunnah? That's something. That's something else. So it's not either or, man.
Yeah.
So that's
or is he striving towards something? Is he trying? Is
he attempting?
Is
it helping him on his when I started growing my beard at 18, 19, I had a bad habit that I needed to kick, and I was like. And I was studying in Egypt, and then somebody told me, "No, you can't." I'm not going to say what it is. No, you can't do this. You're wearing the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it just clicked. Yeah, and because as students, I had one Sheikh Osama Sulaiman would say, in Egypt, they eat this pumpkin seeds, man. All right, and everybody's eating and spitting like in India, they eat pan.
Yeah,
the Egyptians eat these pumpkin seeds and they bite it and they spit it. So he said, any of my students, we did Bukhari with him. He said, it's not haram, but my students will not eat those pumpkin seeds. You're not coming to my dars, spitting, and then coming here and smelling like
pumpkin seeds,
man. So this is how he trained train the students and train. I didn't eat the pumpkin.
That's like I was
You don't look
discussing.
like the pumpkin.
Not the pumpkin
I
seed
was
type.
discussing this with the student. We was discussing a book, man. We're doing the Taysir Mustalah al-Hadith,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And one of the conditions for an accepted hadith was adlu ruwa. That the narrator should be pious people. And that basically means that the person shouldn't be committing major sins,
Yes.
do not persist on minor sins, and they are not doing something which is mukhillun bil muru'ah. Something that goes against muru'ah. Now, muru'ah is those things that are commonly accepted amongst a certain group of people. Example, if you are a scholar of hadith, a person of repute, you're sitting in the road eating a Gatsby.
Yeah.
It's not haram.
Not becoming.
It's not becoming of a scholar of hadith. Scholar of hadith, yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so on that basis, the scholars would look at stuff like that, and that would determine whether they would take hadith from you or not. Seeing that you mentioned now the
No,
muru'ah issue.
but Sheikh, because we lost that, man, that connection with the Sheikh. So if you look at social media, discussions on social media, there isn't that adab. There's no muru'ah. There's no, you know, it's just like, I want to put over my point no matter what. I'm going to finish you. You know, I'll finish you. That's what it's all about. Whereas the mashayikh, and like I said earlier, even that iman, the light that's shining, now it's amplified with social media. But I'm talking about before social media, the sheikh would still have his 50,000 or 10,000 students, and he would still make these requests. And he knows, he doesn't know everybody's name in the dars. And he knows everybody's not going to do it, but this is what he wants, man. And obviously, he's a coach of some type, like when you with your MMA or what I don't want to say that wrong.
BJJ.
BJJ. What do you call the coach?
They call him a professor.
Huh?
They call a BJJ coach a professor. I don't know why.
But if your professor tells you don't do this, don't do that,
yeah,
even though it's not directly connected to the art, he has a reason why he's telling you to stay away from
it's either conditioning or it's
So now we come back to the West, man. So Sheikh Osama probably wouldn't like this hat on my head, but you're coming back to the West, and there's certain norms, and you also try to fit in, and then decades go by. Oh, that's like long. But I mean, it goes by, and you kind of move away from those teachings that they
instilled
they instilled in you. And I mean, and the teachings were quite stringent. But yeah.
But also to reach a certain, you go to the list of the two evils, man. Rather the person not taking anything from me than taking something from me. And in order for him to take something from me, I need to be personal. How do you say?
Approachable.
And approachable.
Or relevant.
Relevant.
Yeah.
But that's also one of the greatest killers, the relevant issue.
Yeah.
To be too relevant.
Too in with the crowd.
Yeah.
That mustn't be the maqsad, man. That mustn't be the objective to be relevant. The objective must be to bring over the da'wah. But you must bring it in such a manner that
Packaged in such a manner, yeah.
Packaged. The content must be the same that the teachers gave us, that we got from our teachers. But the packaging is different. Because we were students, and subhanAllah, I would like to think that we were true students. Because our teachers could tell us whatever they wanted to tell us, and we just said. So the package were different to how we
would package something.
If we're gonna say something on this podcast that somebody else is not gonna agree, we're gonna get a comment. I don't agree with that because of X, Y, and Z. We didn't have that, even though we disagreed. We just said, and when we come out of the class, I would say, or the students would say, that didn't sound like it for me. I'm of the opinion again, and I read somewhere, and I heard about this sheikh, and I sat in that darshan. But you won't dare say in your class, no, but
you remind me of something that happened to me. So Shaykh Mahdi Nakadin, Shaykh Mahdi Nakadin has the Quran school. So he came to Egypt, and I was in Egypt. Just before that, he went to a competition in Libya. Right? So he brought back this, and it's summer, man. But he had this nice 3/4 sleeve thobe from Libya, man. Right? 3/4, and my emphasis is on 3/4, right? It's not the full sleeve. And it's a round neck, it's not a collar neck, right? So he gifted me this thobe, right? And it was summer. And I put on this thobe, and then we had a takhrij class, right, in the Jamia's library. And the classes are big, right? And the mashayikh, obviously speaking, something catches their eye, right? And so the sheikh catches, okay, my outfit catches his eye. And I see he's becoming irritated, but all right, he continues. And near to the end, He says, and when you come to class, you dress properly. And so I'm like, it's a real expensive thobe. I just told Shaykh Mahdi I like the thobe and he gave it to me. And he said, and don't come here with your pajamas. And we know it. Traditionally in the Middle East, the short sleeve thobe is worn as pajamas. Not everywhere. Maghrib, in Morocco, in North Africa, it's formal wear.
Yeah.
And the Sheikh gave it to me, but with a style. Right? And then after the class, I went to speak to him. Obviously, you could hear from my accent, I wasn't Egyptian. She told me, why didn't you tell me anything? I said, no, how can I, you giving me advice and I won't wear this thobe again because maybe other people would think the same. This guy's wearing his pajamas to school. But he said, no, why didn't you say anything? I said, no, it's not my place to say anything. I just took it in and hope for the best. And that's how you learn, man. But now, if you ask a student, a student takes out his phone now in the class, answers a message or like leaves to, do silly things. And the teacher's not able to do anything. But anyway, we like.
What's the time that we have?
We have like 10 minutes left.
The production guys are enjoying themselves.
Are they eating?
Ik hoop hij praat hier met Enoch.
Are they eating without us?
They're eating without Cokes. Lekker, ne? Khair, inshallah. So, what we conclude from this hadith is that everyone in our lives, we will go through that dark patch, that dark cloud will come over our hearts,
Siyasa to nafs, Sheikh. I want to pick that up.
Yeah.
How do you translate that well in English?
Siyasa obviously means politics, but he translates it as managing the heart, choosing the appropriate course of action for your heart, that which will aid, your iman and so forth, and staying away from that which will obviously be to its detriment. So that's how he translates siyasa.
So your heart is vulnerable.
Exactly.
It picks up
anything that it makes contact
like a
with.
vacuum,
like a sponge. Yeah.
So you have to guide the nozzle.
Yeah.
So keep it. So good would mean good companionship. How important is good companionship?
Yeah, subhanallah. I think most people make bad decisions in life based on the companionship.
Exactly.
I think anything that if you look back at the things that you've done probably wrong, you can easily, chart it back.
Yeah.
You can, chart it back to that person that motivated you or a group of friends that you were with or whatever the case may be on school.
You don't blame others, but there was.
You have your own intelligence to make those decisions. But at the end of the day, they do play a factor.
Sheikh Nasser is the disciplinarian at school.
So
he calls in the parents. So he calls in the same two parents, same two sets of parents.
All the time.
He says, how good can they be for each other if whenever I have you here, it is not for something that is good? How can they be good for each other? No, but they're good friends. They're not good friends.
They're destructive friends.
They're destructive friends. So you if you look like Mana said now, if you look back and you think to yourself, that time I got in trouble, it was me and him. And then that other time it was me and him. The old people had a saying, they say, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are.
I had a friend, he was 2 years older than me, and obviously he was driving before me. So I was like 14, 15. He was like 16, 17, and he was driving. Nobody had license, but he was driving. And I told him, look, you must teach me to drive, man. He tells me, look, I taught myself, I just stole the car and I drove.
And the quite part of that joke is now, whenever there's someone who can drive, ik rij al van 10 jaar. Ik was 10 jaar dat ik leer.
And I was so motivated to start driving that I actually took his advice and I didn't make it out of the driveway. And I reversed the car into the gate, and it was disastrous. So Sheikh Wasfi. Right? No, it wasn't him. But he tells me, ik zie for you in life, when that guy tells you go right, you go left.
That's good advice.
I won't mention the Sheikh's name. He's also Moulana. But Wasfi told me, when he tells you go right, you go left, and then you'll be safe.
That's quite
We're still good friends today, but it was always 90% of the time encouraged by an outside factor. But Muhammad, I just want to ask you a question. So you spend most of your life here, right? But you do find brothers from the Somalian community coming from Kenya in their teens or early 20s. Do you find that outside factors, they come from an orthodox, very close-knit community. They come here and it's obviously different from where they come from. Does that have an impact on
Yeah.
I'm not saying speak out to the community, but I mean,
No, the thing is, maybe yes, you can say 20%, but then majority is gonna come to as the top name, Somali.
Oh.
You know, if I can just twist your question by saying our locals that I grew up with most of the time, it will be times like, as Sheikh said, we would say, no, that happened. It was me and him. It was me and him. But today's time, you can see like, I would like say Alhamdulillah, because not only that has happened, also now time has passed. The person changed life. Life changed him.
Yeah.
Maybe he became mature. They have family. Now you see you gaining good things from him. Khair, even if he's not a non-Muslim, you'll gain some other advice, dunya wise. Understand? Which means, but when it comes to Somalis, it's like Somali that comes from the Western country, the Somali that comes from the Arab side, it's just Somali, man. It doesn't change.
Yeah,
It's just this guy. The first 2 days you'll respect, the next day it just clicks. That click comes in like.
So when you were at Jamiatul Qasim, there were Somalis from everywhere.
Sheikh, I
and
won't
there
lie
was
to you.
Somali.
It's like, I would 4 months later they will realize, where did you come from, Afwan?
Oh, they've just thought you from Somalia.
No, they just thought I was straight from Somalia. It's like, they're like, I'm from South Africa. South Africa, it's like a big thing for them.
I say Muslims in South Africa.
The lions in the road.
Like our Somalis at our school, that's born here. They don't say that they're Somali.
They don't identify Somali anymore. They identify South Africans.
South Africans. Yes.
But all of them can speak.
Yeah. You know what is the difference between the Muslim community of Cape Town and the Somali community of Cape Town? That the kids that is born here, the parents will decide for them. You will just.
Exactly.
You don't have a choice.
You my property till.
Yes. Now, in our cases again, we must make easy for the kids. That.
Must be lenient. Give
Yes.
Half day fasting. No fasting in exam.
Mommy, but I'm 18 already. I'm on fast all day.
I can fast.
Yeah.
Astaghfirullah. But that's really. I mean, immigrant communities in general, man. They have to keep a hand on the kids because it can really go crazy. You talk about culture and speaking. When Shaykh Rabi was here, the community, Somali community, most of them didn't want to believe he can speak Somali because the whole tour, right? He was just speaking English. And when we had the conference, one of the sisters asked a question in Somali, trying to like figure him out how Somali is easy, and he answered in English. He answered in English.
He went to Pretoria after he left Cape Town. And then there's this culture of Somalis, like, I don't know how they say it in English, like the chief of the clan. What they would do is, if that chief dies, maybe he will have almost a son that almost can take over. Now what they do is they call it Anashup. Anashup means like they will bring the person, all the clan will be around, put him in the middle, all the other clan leaders would come together.
And they make him the chief.
Yes, but before that, they will remove the thobe out of him, put a t-shirt on, and they'll take almost like, how can I say, 5 liters of milk, but a camel milk, and they'll throw him over. They call him Anashup. From that time, they will know that this person now is the chief of that clan. Now he went to Pretoria. They said, Sheikh, you know what? There's a confused young man. A lot of people are saying, no, Shaykh Arabi is a Pakistani. He's Indian. We want to be clear now. We want to tell the world that you're Somali now. Come sit here, move your cap out. Bring the milk, my friend. Bring the milk. No, he refused. He said, you know what? Let me take other things. They have the Somali lungi, the shawl, I don't know what you call it, almost like an imama. Right?
The shawl.
The shawl. And then they give you a stick. And the kufiya. And I said, you know what? Because of that, we're going to record, start speaking Somali, my friend. And then, he was like, he would stutter and all that. But, Somalis, I remember when the Sheikh came, he said he felt happy because sometimes he would go to countries, Somali people will invite him. But the majority will be the local of the people. And then he said, you won't find the local, the Somali food. And now he must like get used to it. But him also coming from the UK. Obviously he got, but he said still, there's that blood in him that still wants the rice, the spaghetti.
I think that's the deciding factor for if you ask any South African, where's the best place to spend Ramadan? most people will say Medina and Makkah, but then their heart will yearn for the savories of
Cape Town,
Cape
yeah.
Town,
Exactly.
the 100
They
samosas.
want the atmosphere of Makkah and Medina,
But the
but
food.
they want the
The
food,
food,
of
yeah,
Cape
the
Town.
cuisine.
No, I want the food
The
of
cultures.
Medina, really, that yogurt and
The
dates.
bread.
It's just like life changing. But anyway, inshallah. Oh, may Allah take us
At
back.
least life changing.
May Allah take
Makes
us. Hey, yeah, it does.
It
May
does,
Allah
yeah.
take us back many times.
Ameen,
inshallah.
ameen.
Allahumma ameen.
Sheikh, we're going to wrap up?
Khair, inshallah. We're not done.
Hadith. No, we're not done by far.
No. The Sheikh mentions 4 points to overcome the dark spot in your life.
Go for it.
No, we can do it next week.
Okay, we can do it next week, inshallah.
So it's
So where's the khutbahs tomorrow, Sheikh?
I'm at Nazmi. I wanted to go to West.
Belgrade.
Yeah, but Nazmi didn't want to give me off, man. Nazmi, we've got a volatile love-hate relationship. So I told him, look here, is it okay if I go somewhere else this week as
Go
opposed
back.
to coming to you? Then I suggested another sheikh to him, and he said, no, that guy was here last week.
Okay.
So I said, khalas.
So you have to go.
I need to go there.
Okay.
I need to fulfill my end of the bargain.
I'm home tomorrow
That guy was ready.
I was last week in
That guy wasn't there.
last week. Last of last week.
Last of
So
last
where was
week.
I? Oh, last week I was in Tableview. The week before that I was in Belgium.
Outside
So now I'm on site. Yeah.
On
So
site.
now I'm back home tomorrow.
town center. Masjid.
Inshallah ta'ala, yeah. So I'll be there for a few weeks. I think my
Inshallah.
next khutbah out is the Rondavo.
Okay. I spoke at the Rondavo once.
Yeah, the Rondavo, yeah.
I spoke at that masjid once.
I got the Sheikh Rafik today.
Is it?
Yeah.
From the Rondavo.
From
You khutbah, Sheikh?
I can organize a khutbah for you.
No.
We can enlist you. We can enlist you.
West asked me last night at class.
Muhammad, you khutbah once a month.
No, once a month.
Once a month. And
Once a
it's not tomorrow.
No. End of the month.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Or beginning of the
طيب.
month.
So we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us a
Ameen.
beautiful Jummah,
Ameen.
inshallah.
Ameen.
The ability to practice all those beautiful sunan, the bath, the nice clothing, the Surah Al-Kahf, the increase in salawat, inshallah. Until next we meet with Heart to Heart, Part 3,
Three.
inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
هلا بالخميس هلا بالخميس ويكند عيال هلا بالخميس هلا بالخميس هلا بالخميس ويكند عيال هلا بالخميس